All right, we are live. Let's just give. Looks like we got no viewers so far.
Okay.
But we can wait for.
We can wait for some.
Give it a couple minutes here.
Yeah.
Okay. We can always throw in any kind of like banner or something. I'll just throw in the chat.
Yeah, I'm all relaxed. I've got my mushroom tea or my mush tea. I'm going to make that a thing.
All right. We got some viewers. Good to see.
Awesome.
Well,
people showing up.
People will still be showing up. Let's start to kick this thing off. So just want to welcome everybody for taking some time out of their day to show up for our Real Mushrooms for Pet launch. I've got Dr. Rob Silver with us and Joni Kamlet. They're heading up our pet team, and just wanted to give some brief background here because we've been sort of servicing pet owners and vets indirectly for a while now, and started working on some pet treats last year, and it's kind of been in the back of our mind product wise for a while now. And it was kind of fortunate for us for Dr. Silver to become available, which was just kind of crazy happenstance. So we were thrilled when we were able to bring him on board and head up our pet team, and the same goes for Joni as well. It was just like serendipitous that she was able to come on board, and I'm super excited for the launch of this pet line. I'm really excited to have Rob and Joni on our team heading this up. Just a couple of amazing human beings. So I'm going to turn it over to Rob and Joni here for a quick intro, and then we'll dive in and we'll talk about pets today.
Thank you, Sky, and welcome to our little chat room here. It's nice to meet you all in this virtual platform. So I'm a licensed veterinarian of 40 years experience, a graduate of Colorado State University, and a couple of 4 or 5 years out in practice. I started getting frustrated with some of the patients I would see whose conditions just would fall through the cracks of Western medicine. And that started my journey in learning some alternative modalities to add to my conventional modalities. And over the years, I've added expertise in acupuncture, Chinese herbs, Western herbs, nutraceuticals, cannabis, CBD, and mushrooms as well. So it's really a joy for me to work with Real Mushrooms and to be able to create, from my heart, from my mind, from my experience, a set of products that, and we're just launching the first set of these set of products that really will help to benefit the many animals that are out there that need help. And for me, that's my mission as a veterinarian, to leave this world a better place for the critters. So, and I hope you will share my feelings about this once you've had an opportunity to try these formulas. So, and I'm really fortunate to have Joni Kamlet, who is a registered veterinary technician who has been working in this space for years, to be my partner. And she's director of education and outreach, and you may hear from her directly more than you hear from me, but I'm always there and always available through her and through our other channels to answer questions that you may have about your pets. The only thing I do need to say is that, it's really difficult for me to give real medical advice to someone about their specific pet's problems. One, I don't really have all the information at hand. Two, it really is not acceptable with the Practice Act because I don't have a direct doctor-patient relationship. But I'll do my best to answer those questions in a way that's not quite so specific, but nonetheless can be helpful to you. And I'm going to hand it over to Joni now. Joni, give them what for.
Thank you, Rob. And yeah, this is such an exciting day, launching the pet products today. Can't wait to help so many, animals and pet parents and veterinarians. And just Rob, Dr. Silver filled in a little bit of my background, but my story really starts back in 1996 when I was diagnosed with cancer, and so was my dog Waffles, me with ovarian cancer and my dog with mammary cancer. And it was my search to find kind of alternative ways to deal with my diagnosis that launched me on my integrative path. So I went back to school to become an RVT, which is a veterinary nurse at 40, and then I got certified in canine rehabilitation. For the past over the past decade, I've been working in the pet supplement industry, and in 2020, I started working with mushrooms with a company called Third Planet and became completely obsessed. So when I heard that Sky was launching the Real Mushrooms pet line, I campaigned for this job. I love Real Mushrooms and was so excited to work with Dr. Silver. And I also want to say that I was incredibly inspired by Karen Becker and Rodney Habib and launching their new book, The Forever Dog. I saw that pet parents were becoming, they wanted to know more. And so here we are. And so we're here to help you. Yeah, here's the book. Rob's got his book. I've got my book. It's, wonderful talking about pet longevity, et cetera. And, but onto our new mushroom line. Why don't we go ahead and take some questions? Oh, and by the way, we'll also, I want to say we're going to be at the Healthy Dog Expo. Speaking of Karen Becker and Rodney Habib, our official launch of the Real Mushrooms pet products is going to be at the Healthy Dog Expo next weekend in Albany, New York. And it's actually, I don't know if you know this, Dr. Silver, this is the largest pet parent gathering in the country. So it's going to be Dr. Karen Becker, Rodney Habib, Lori Koger, Dr. Lori Koger put it together, Susan Thixton, a whole bunch of people with expertise in the pet space, and we will be there with our new products. So, and it just sold out. So if anybody's listening that already has tickets, yay. Otherwise, we'll probably be doing some live events from there as well. So anyway, what do you think? Should we move on to some questions?
Let me interject a little something first.
Sure, absolutely.
If you are going to be at the Healthy Dog Expo, please come by our booth and tell us you saw us here. We'd like to know that we're making an impact, even a small one out there. And let me just give you an overview of my vision of the pet product line. And we've been, stymied as so many other companies have been with some of the supply chain issues, and so we've been slow to roll things out. We're not able to roll the entire product line out. But what we've started with are 2 soft chew formulas, and we can talk about those a little later. But one is directed towards cognition and kind of relaxing and calming, that sort of a thing, and the other one is directed more towards immune system function. And they're both tasty soft chews for most animals, but animals have their own pickiness. And starting with, we have 3 capsules that are labeled for pets available. We've got the 5 Defenders, the Reishi, and the Turkey Tail. We'll soon be coming out with the Chaga and the Lion's Mane and the Cordyceps, all in capsule format. I'll be formulating in the future a number of special blends for specific conditions, and those will actually look for suggestions that you may have, because we're looking to find out what would be the very best places to put our time and energy. But what's coming up next is going to be my formulation of the bulk powders. And I think in many regards, the bulk powders are very popular to the pet parent because they're so easy to just scoop it into the food and not have to worry about getting capsules down, or soft chews, which are really difficult to scale up. So I'm in the process of developing a special bulk formula that contains the mushrooms, of course, but has other types of palatability enhancers. I call them functional enhancers because they also have a very good biomedical activity, like in helping the digestive system to better digest and absorb the mushrooms, and some things to help reduce inflammation and things along those lines. So stay tuned. Those are in process still. We're getting them out as soon as we can. Joni has the soft chews there, and I'm sure you're eager for me to answer your questions, and I will do my very best. So bring them on, you know.
Yeah, let's take our first question. Now, this is a good one.
Mhm.
Dr. Silver, what age should people start supplementing their dog with mushrooms?
I recommend, you know, as soon as they're weaned, as soon as they're starting to eat regular food, I think it's entirely safe and it makes a lot of sense to help support that developing immune system. There even was a study in puppies that were shelter puppies that were immune compromised that were unable to mount protective immunity from their rabies vaccinations, that after they were preconditioned with mushrooms, they then were able to be revaccinated for rabies and mount a very long-standing protective response. So I think there's a lot of value for the young dog to start early with mushrooms. And you know, these mushrooms have, you know, have functional and medicinal properties, but many of them are coming from very tasty edible mushroom sources as well. So they're functional foods. There's no reason why you can't use them in your young animals.
And just proactively every day, like, you know, should all dogs and cats, would all dogs and cats benefit from being on mushrooms?
Well,
Just as a daily,
yeah, they would benefit. You know, certainly there's budget issues and the
yeah,
ability to remember to give it to them every day. But
yeah,
you know, in an ideal world, yes, they, you know,
yeah,
if there were no budget issues and there was no
true.
difficulty giving it to them, absolutely.
Yeah,
Mushrooms for cats equally important. But cats are very special demographic. As they say, you know, dogs come when called, but cats take a message and get back to you. So right now, I haven't developed anything specifically for the very picky cat. My own cat, a 1-year-old Maine Coon, eats ravenously our relax soft chews. She's actually eats 2 of them at a time. It's amazing to watch her do that. Many cats wouldn't even, you know, get near anything that's other than a food for them. So we will be developing specialized palatability formulas for cats. And the bulk powders will probably be where we're going to start, because you can start with cats. The way to get something into a cat is to start with just a tiny little dosage. Because if you've ever noticed a dog, you put the food down, they just rush up to the bowl and eat it. But a cat, they always sniff it first. And so it's the odor of what you're putting in there that's so important. Cats' livers don't do a good as job of detoxifying as dog livers. So over the millennia, they've evolved to be very suspicious of eating food that doesn't smell or taste like the food they survived eating yesterday.
yeah.
So that's part of my strategy. We'll publish that when time comes along. So next question.
I just wanted to add something to the cats. I mean, so far with our product testing, with dogs and cats, I've been surprised at how many cats are actually eating the chews, and that a number of them actually also play with the chews, maybe because of the catnip that's in the recipe. I found that interesting.
It
Uh,
is. Mhm.
yeah. So Karen has a question here. What is the difference between purchasing the new pet products and the human powder products, or the human products of real mushrooms?
She says powder, so I think she's referring to powder. You know, we know that the capsules are larger for the human products than for the animal products. We downsize them to make them easier to give and to be more representative of the general weights that we see in pets. And we've priced those capsules, I think, about $10 less expensive than the human capsules. The bulk powder could very well be used, the human bulk powder, if you wanted to share with your pet. Certainly, if your pet has palatability issues, then stay tuned for my specially formulated bulk powders. There's no reason why you can't share your product with your pet. No problem.
Awesome. But yeah, I will tell you that my dog Scruffy is loving the chews, the formulas that you made, Dr. Silver, both the calming and the immune chews. I mean, she really looks forward to them as a treat. And there's nothing like them on the human side of real mushrooms yet.
It's true. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the next question, what is the recommended type of mushroom to supplement a 10-year-old, 24-pound corgi with lymphoma?
So, as I mentioned, I really can't give specific medical advice for your corgi. And I'm so sorry that you have that diagnosis to deal with, because it's a challenging diagnosis. I mean, and lymphoma takes many forms. In some cases, it's quite mild and can becomes a chronic disease. In other cases, it's very aggressive, and so a lot of that also depends on what you do. But what I do know is that turkey tail over the years has found itself to be used quite frequently for people who have cancer and for pets who have cancer. There was a study using some specialized extracts from the turkey tail mushroom in dogs with hemangiosarcoma, with splenic cancer, that showed very good results. Those are not these exact same extracts. They're especially pharmaceutically manufactured from the turkey tail, but the turkey tail has copious other very strong extracts in it that can help to downsize and address the cancer in the patient. The study showed. I'm sorry. I'm probably too winded. Too much stuff here.
No, it's great, Dr. Silver.
Today. But what they've learned is that the real benefit of mushrooms, they're not directly cytotoxic to cancer. What they do is they improve the host defense. They improve the immune system of your animal, so it is better able to deal with that. And there are many mushrooms other than turkey tail. For instance, lion's mane. We think about lion's mane for cognitive issues, but there's some good studies about lion's mane and cancer. And lion's mane has one of the highest beta glucan contents of all of our mushrooms. Anyway, I ramble. Let's go to the next one.
And I just want to add to that as well. I mean, one of the wonderful things about turkey tail is that it can be used in conjunction with whatever Western therapies, chemotherapy, radiation, etc. So you don't have to make that choice of either or when you're supporting your pet with cancer. So the next one, my dog is just 7 years old, but is graying already. He's on lion's mane and turkey tail and a fresh food diet. How can I slow down the aging process? Is there anything else I should add to his diet?
Well, I wish I knew that secret.
Yeah,
well,
for sure.
Fairly young for my age, but the graying oftentimes is not so much a sign of aging as kind of is something that happens with age. In dogs, they go through these time changes in their hair coat. Chinese medicine, we talk about graying being a sign of a blood deficiency, and there's Chinese herbs that we can use to fix that, and that might be one solution. But and you're giving lion's mane and turkey tail, which do have quite a few antioxidants in them, and of course the fresh food diet, hopefully it's well balanced, and specific for your pet's needs and energetics. But you might want to consider adding some more antioxidants. There's an antioxidant found in mushrooms called ergothioneine, and there's also really great antioxidants just in our fruits and vegetables and in our plants as well. I think some antioxidants is better than none. We don't really need to load on tons of antioxidants you can get into problems with too much antioxidant activity. But that's what my suggestion would be for that answer.
Yeah, great answer. And I would also, again, this book has a lot of really good additional tips for pet longevity. So recommend that. I have a question from Courtney. Great question. Court has 3 senior dogs and is wondering what a good mushroom is for cognitive support.
Well, for cognitive support, we think about lion's mane. And I think you'll find that our Relax formula actually has quite a bit of lion's mane in it with some reishi. And reishi also has some very good benefits for mentation, good antioxidant benefits. And we're also looking to come out with a bulk powder that would be a blend with lion's mane and some herbs that would also help to address CCD, canine cognitive disorder or dysfunction. But I think lion's mane would really be a good place to start and might be all that you need. I've heard of some reports of it helping even people with Alzheimer's. So, worth a try. Certainly.
Yeah, I agree completely. Thank you, Dr. Silver. So Denise Day, she has 2 senior cats and is asking if there's anything to help them have a better life.
Well, I'm here and I'm formulating for real mushrooms because I believe strongly that mushrooms contain a huge number, even one single mushroom, of valuable ingredients, including antioxidants and beta glucans and special kinds of terpene molecules. With cats, we want to make sure that we're going to give them something that you can give easily, that it's not a chore for you. You don't wind up all shredded, trying to get the capsules in them. So giving them a powder would probably be better than a capsule, or opening a capsule up and sprinkling it in the food. And for cats, I think that probably the easiest single mushroom extracts for them to accept would be lion's mane or cordyceps. So since I don't know much more about your senior cats than that, my suggestion would be go with the cordyceps, which can help to energize them and give them more energy. It helps to increase their energy production. It's used a lot for performance and stamina. And if you're starting to see their energy flagging, cordyceps is good. It also has one of the highest beta-glucan contents of all mushrooms. And just to say this, all mushrooms contain these beta-glucans, and they are very, very potent immune modulators. They have other properties as well in terms of reducing cholesterol in humans, which is not a problem in animals. And so that's one reason if you were to go and look at each individual mushroom, you'd say, wow, they all have really similar applications, and then they have some different ones. Well, the similar applications are because of the beta-glucans that are common to them all, and the different applications are because of the other molecules, maybe the antioxidants and these terpene molecules, these volatile organic compounds that pass the blood-brain barrier and have a benefit with all organ systems. But I think right now, cordyceps, unfortunately, we don't have that in the pet format, but you can get that in the human format, Denise.
Yeah. And again, another shout out to the calming chew that has the lion's mane in it, because we do have the reports of even though it has that reishi in it, which is a little bitter, cats are seeming to, they're eating it. So
now the Relax also has tryptophan and theanine, which also help to create more of that relaxed state, that vegetative parasympathetic state.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, Dr. Silver, next question is, can you recommend a homemade beef dog food recipe which includes mushrooms, or that mushrooms can be added to?
Okay, well, first, there's a couple of parts to this question. First of all, they said, do you have a homemade beef dog food recipe? Yeah. Obviously, the dog must not be sensitive to beef, which is why you have to use that specifically. It is in the works for us to put together a little pet recipe book and make suggestions as far as adding mushrooms to it. Now, I just need to say that mushrooms should not be eaten raw. They need to be cooked if you want to get the medical benefits of them. And that's because mushrooms are really high in fiber. That fiber is really good because it can contribute as a prebiotic to the microbiome. But that fiber can be bad because it doesn't allow the goodies like the beta-glucans and some of these other active molecules to be released so your animal or yourself can ingest it. So if you are going to add mushrooms to a homemade beef dog food recipe, then you need to cook it with the recipe itself. On the other hand, if you were to take, let's say, the real mushrooms powder extract, you could add that directly to the recipe once you've cooked it. You wouldn't have to be sourcing the mushrooms and keeping them in your refrigerator and everything else. And on a cost per cost basis, I think you'll find our extracts are much more cost effective than actually getting the mushrooms from the supermarket. And it's already been processed, so you're getting some good stuff in there for your pets. But there's been so much to do to get this product line up and going. The recipe book is certainly something that we're looking at doing.
Yeah. No, that's a great idea, Dr. Silver. And what I do, I take the capsules and I open them up and I sprinkle them on the food, and then I add either some water or some bone broth to make a gravy. And yeah, my dog Scruffy she loves it. She actually tries to get all the liquid before she starts eating, with the rest of the food. Absolutely.
I think one approach to homemade pet diets, if you're not, totally concerned about the raw aspect of it. And I think there's a lot of positive reasons to feed raw foods and a few, challenges about that, but certainly you don't have to cook it as much. But a colleague of mine, Ihor Basco, a veterinarian in Hawaii, who's also very involved in mushrooms, he suggests the crock pot approach, creating a big old stew pot that you can, and of course using bones as the basis to get that bone broth with all the great nutrients that the bones contain. And you can kind of keep adding stuff to it, as you use it up, adding, your cut vegetables from your own meals and healthy leftovers and stuff you might be able to get at the supermarket a little less expensive. And you can, as long as you keep those proportions relatively similar, that's a way to kind of keep the chore, to have it not be so much of a chore, but instead to be a blessed event. Feeding your animals feeding your animals home prepared meals is one of the most exciting things to do. Having them watch you there like this, and then the joy that you have when you put them, when I'm scrunching up the raw diet, because I feed them a raw meal with my fingers, that's when one of our dogs starts barking, because it's just a couple of minutes before we get that food bowl down for her.
Oh, you have the musical accompaniment from your dogs. Yeah, I also I actually had a question for you, Dr. Silver. I'm a big believer in variety in food, making sure that my dog has something different, in her bowl, on a regular basis. And, I know you can't just switch your dog over from if they're eating the same thing every day, but I'm wondering how you feel about that. And
I think that diversity in nutrition is very important. Yeah. And this one guy I knew who was another formulator, a smart guy, he said, the body's like a lumberyard, and it just wants to have, all the different sizes of lumber stacked up in inventory. So when it has need for a certain size of lumber, it can just get it, versus having to add it to the diet. So I think that, feeding a wide diversity of foods, switching them around, being seasonal with the choices you're making, these all make a lot of sense. You just have to measure that against your individual animal's sensitivity to diet changes. Because, the biggest spoiler in the world to the joy of making homemade diet for your pet is that vomit or diarrhea in your carton. So any changes should always be made gradually, especially if you have one of those critters who's a little more sensitive to change.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I mean, I always think, like, if I was eating like the same, a good meal, maybe a grass-fed, steak and a organic salad and, some other vegetables every single day, that would be great. But I'd be missing, the omega-3s and the fish oils and, all of these other things. It's the same with our pets. The more we have variety, the more we can make sure that we're filling in, not missing any vital nutrients.
And if you're doing a wellness approach, with the mushrooms, and you're not really addressing something specific, like let's say we want to use the turkey tail specifically for cancer, well, actually, even with that, we could switch to chaga, which is a little more challenging in terms of taste. It's a bit bitter, but, you can also switch those around. But if the wellness approach, I would say, rotate the species of mushrooms, maybe, I don't know, every 3 or 4 months, a couple times a year, switch it up just to give your animal the benefit of the other molecules that are in these other mushroom species.
Yeah.
The beta glucans that are common to them all.
Yeah. Great point. Thank you, Dr. Silver. Can you overdose your dogs on mushrooms?
The answer to that is no. Actually, but they, unless you're, you've got a stomach tube and you're just, piling it in, they're going to have a natural, a natural stop point in terms of what you're giving them. And if you're, using the powder, you're still going to have to get an awful lot in there. There's been no formal safety studies as far as how much you can give without having any problems, but there's a lot of anecdotal information over the centuries that mushrooms have been in use in people. That one anecdotal data point is that turkey tail mushroom can be given 100 times higher than what the accepted human dosage is, which for the mushroom itself, it would be like 9 grams of that per day. So, that's a lot, that's like 3 ounces of it versus, a teaspoon or 2. So no, I don't think you can overdose your dog on mushrooms. And we're not talking at all about the psychedelic mushrooms here today. We will talk about that in the future, though.
Yeah, or poisonous mushrooms, because there are mushrooms that are not appropriate for dogs or humans to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Ihor Basco is a true is a true resource for us all. He's been doing this longer than I have, and he knows his stuff.
He's great. Yeah. We're all big fans of Dr. Basco, that's for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, Jennifer is asking, is there any known evidence that mushrooms can benefit adrenal dysfunction?
Well, just because I haven't seen it doesn't mean I haven't actually searched for that. But a mushroom like cordyceps would be in my mind, probably a good place to begin if we're dealing with adrenal underfunction. Adrenal overfunction gets to be a bit more of a challenge, and I've seen some other questions about that as well. Cushing's disease is basically what that's called, or atypical Cushing's disease. Those are more challenging, and so that's the best I can do as far as answering that one, Jennifer.
Yeah, I guess this might be a good opportunity to mention that we've really, there's so much we don't know about mushrooms yet. If you go on PubMed or Google Scholar, you'll see there's so many mushroom studies that are happening, and we're learning, every day, but there's so much more to learn. We're just at the tip of the iceberg as far as all the things that mushrooms can do for us and for our pets.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, this is actually, we had a couple people ask this question. Can mushrooms support environmental allergies, paw licking in the warmer weather months? And if so, what types do you recommend?
So we will be coming out with an allergy-specific formula that utilizes my expertise in the realm of cannabis as well. Although we will not be using any CBD in any of our formulas, there are some other molecules that that enhance that whole process. So yes, and in fact, the reishi mushroom, which is a bit bitter, but it contains these triterpenoids, these volatile molecules, which have an antihistamine-like effect. So it can actually be used symptomatically, as well as the benefit of its beta glucans and triterpenoids also can help to improve the immune system balance. When you've got allergies, it means your immune system is overreacting to things. And it kind of got that message early on in life. And it's a real challenge when they're older and these messages have been locked into place to get the immune system to not get so excited about things. But mushrooms are the key to help to balance the immune system. So would it help your dog? I don't know, but it should be helpful in general to animals. Now, oftentimes paw licking is more a sign of a food allergy than a seasonal allergy. So you might want to look at that. Also, ear issues and anal gland issues, paw licking, all seem to be related to some sort of a food allergy. In Chinese medicine, we call that a development of damp heat.
Interesting. Related to food allergy, Dr. Silver, have you found that chicken tends to be more of an allergen than some of the other proteins?
I think
I've heard that in the pet space. Yeah.
Well, chicken is the most commonly fed animal protein. And so animals who are allergic will become allergic to things they're commonly exposed to. In fact, when you choose a food allergy diet, you do what's called an elimination diet, which means that you usually start with like a saliva test to establish what are some sensitivities. But when you do a elimination diet, you feed the ingredients that seem to be less likely to cause reactions. But if you feed it long enough, 3 months, 6 months, a year, depends on the animal, they can then develop allergies to these same foods that they didn't have allergies to before. So to say that chicken is the worst, maybe it's more frequent because it's fed more frequently, but I know some animals that's the only protein they can eat and everything else they can't. So it's really a very individual basis, and there needs to be some testing. And there's a very good saliva test available through Nutriscan.org, which is part of Hemopet and Gene Dodd's outfit.
Gene Dodd's, yeah.
That you can put like a little piece of rope in the mouth and soaks up the saliva, then you send it into them, and they do this whole study, give you 24 different food ingredients that your dog may be sensitive to. So that's, I think you have to approach these allergies in a very studied and intelligent and methodical approach in order to figure out what's going on. They're not easy.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Silver. Yeah, I've heard really wonderful things about the hemopet testing and Dr. Dodds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question from Nona Mills.
Mhm.
Her dog is, she says, my dog is 9 years old. He's had several hemangiosarcomas removed. I put him on your immune product, and I'm hoping it helps. Any recommendations?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm not sure what she's referring to when she says immune product, and and I think dosage is really important, and the specifics of the immune product. Now, the 5 defenders, maybe that's what you're referring to, is a good combo product. It has 5 different mushrooms in it, and it's a good way to get a shotgun. But in order to get enough of any one given mushroom, you have to escalate that dosage substantially. And that would be one way to do that. On the other hand, if the immune product would be our turkey tail, just an individual, I would still suggest, ramping up that dosage. He's had several of these I assume they're probably hemangiosarcomas of the skin, which does happen and not nearly as toxic as of the spleen or of the heart. But higher doses, the more you give, the better results you're going to get. I don't know your specifics, but that would be my suggestion.
I hope that's helpful, Nona. Next question, what is the dosage of mushroom extracts by weight, specifically turkey tail and reishi?
So each mushroom is different. It has different content of beta glucans. It has different content of these other bioactive molecules. And each condition that we treat is different. And the weight of each animal is probably different as well as their metabolism. So in the absence of any actual controlled studies where we're measuring dosage against some effect, I decided that the best way for us to have a starting point for dosing, because these are starting points I'm making suggestions for, then we increase it if we get better results. So the starting point's relatively low. But you need to have a starting point. And so I used the fact that there's the common factor of beta glucan in all of these mushrooms, and the fungal product. Chaga is not really a mushroom, so we call it a fungal product. That's what we're doing, is we're using the beta glucan dosage, and most of our products have very close beta glucan contents, except for the chaga, which is a mycelium on wood product, so you're not going to get as much beta glucan. So I think that's a good place to start. And that's a place to start, and make sure your animal is tolerating it in their food at the lower dosage, and then based on the condition, or if you can actually judge a response, because oftentimes with cancer it might take weeks or months to know, then I would just empirically bump it up to the limit of your budget and the limit that your pet has as far as the introduction to their food. And right now, in the absence of having specific objective information about that, that's, I think, the best approach to go.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Silver. So our next question is from Lynn Rogers Garrison. What great news. She says she's excited to try the pet line. I've been using 5 defenders and turkey tail since 2020 with my girl that had liver cancer, and the cancer is gone. Any suggestions on what to use going forward, or just continue what they're doing?
Whoa, who can argue success?
Yeah, congratulations. That's wonderful news.
I think that's a great combo. And I'd be curious to know your pet's weight and how you've been dosing that, so that we can start to keep a record of these success stories, so we can then find out better, even anecdotally like this. It's not objective, but still, cancer's gone. I assume that liver cancer's gone because you've had follow-up ultrasounds. I can only imagine what your veterinarian's saying. They probably thought that the first ultrasound was a different dog or something, That's great. That is great. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fantastic. And keep up the good work with your pup, Lynn.
Let me just add, with cannabis and CBD, we also use that to treat cancer. And what we find is when an animal goes into remission on the CBD, THC, whatever they're using, that if they stop using it, it comes back. So, don't stop.
Yeah. The next question, let's see. Oh yeah, this is a good one. Can mushrooms help with reducing seizures? Our 5-year-old 11-pound weenie has one about once a month. No known reason why.
Well, mushrooms aren't known as much as CBD is, let's say, for addressing seizures. And certainly, although we don't, market any product like that and won't, that would be one place to go, certainly looking at that. But we do know some of the mushrooms have had some studies. We haven't had anything in dogs, but some studies that show benefit for seizures. And lion's mane would be one of those. And I think reishi would be another. So it's possible that our relax, given that it also has, some very strong herbs in it that are called adaptogens, which help the body adapt to stress, and oftentimes seizures once a month, no reason why, but I'll bet you there's something stressful happening at the time that seizure occurs, or maybe it's a full moon. So, but that would be my suggestion: is look at lion's mane, look at reishi. With a little 11-pound dog, the soft chews will go far, for that.
And related to the soft chews, Dr. Silver, I know you have the dosage recommendations on the back. Can you go higher?
Well, if you'll look at the dosage recommendations, and it may annoy some people. It annoys me when I see those recommendations, but it fits in what we're trying to dose here. The recommendations give you a range of weights from 20 to 40 pounds. So it would be logical to start at the lower dosage, which would be a chew per 40 pounds. Make sure your animal is accepting of that, or whatever increment at that higher dosing rate would suit your pet's weight. And then, again, based on effect, based on condition, then you could start to increase it. And really, the dosages can be increased safely, even beyond that 20 to 40 pound range. There's been established in the literature basically 3 tiers of dosing with beta glucans for cancer and for diseases, for problems in general. Be careful the words I say here. And so the lowest dosage of beta glucans is what we're suggesting, and it's about 2.5 mg per kg per day. There were several cancer studies done, one with maitake, one with and one with maitake, and the vaccination titer study was done with oyster mushroom. They both looked at dosages about 3 to 4 mg per kg. So we have like the 2.5. So I call this a 2.5 to 5 mg per kg is the lowest tier. And then we have a medium tier, about 5 to 10 mg per kg. And then the most serious one, which would be for the really serious diseases like the big C, and that would be like 20 to 30 mg per kg. So it's just a shoot from the hip at this point in time. And as we gather more information, more feedback from our beloved customers, learn more about what weights and what dosages and what species we're working for what, we'll be able to compile much more information, and we'll be able to, provide that, as we get that together.
Thank you, Dr. Silver. I was asking that question for myself and my dog Scruffy. She loves these immune chews with the 5 defenders, and so I give her one, and then she begs for another one. And I call them. She runs around. I call them shroomy zoomies. What she does when I give her the treats. So I've been stopping it too, but because she's just a little over 20 pounds, but she loves them.
Yeah, you can give her more, no problem.
Okay, good to know. I have a great question. Another one from Courtney, who has 2 Labradors, a 1.5-year-old and a 5.5-year-old. And Court is wondering which mushrooms would be good for joint support. They're super active, and I wish I would have gotten the older lab on joint support when we got him.
Okay. Well, it's never too late to start. And certainly I do endorse the use of joint lubricants, like the glucosamines and chondroitins and the MSM. I think those are very valuable. I think fish oil as well. Many times it's not just one supplement. It's a whole multimodal approach, with joint issues. If they're having problems, certainly looking at their weight, that's also important. and looking at your activity with them. It might be that for them, even though your activity is okay for you, for them it may not be. It may be too much, and so you're recreating the injury each time that you are active with them. So those are things that are important to look at. We don't have a specific mushroom that has specifically been studied to be used for joint function, but because of the beta glucan content and the ability that has to address some of the inflammatory conditions that we see, there was a study in dogs with just a purified beta glucan that did show some benefits with osteoarthritis, but it was a purified beta glucan. It didn't come from any specific mushroom, it was just the pure beta glucans. So long-winded answer. I would say maybe something like the 5 Defenders, which has kind of a general approach, or looking at our reishi or our cordyceps as far as having adequate, antioxidant and anti-inflammatory potency with their glucans and other molecules. But mushrooms aren't, I'd like to think mushrooms are good for everything, but, we have to be realistic that they aren't necessarily going to address every single issue that we have.
Yeah. Absolutely. Wonderful. Next questions. Are mushrooms safe for nursing mothers?
If the nursing mother is a dog or a woman?
We're gonna assume that this is a nursing mother dog or cat.
Okay. So we don't know.
Yeah.
That's the simple answer.
Yeah.
And my general approach is that because we don't know what the effect would be on a pregnant or a lactating female, I think that you're better off avoiding its use until the puppies are whelped and mama is recovering. Just because we don't know. It's probably okay. But if I gave you that advice and something happened to your puppy, even if it wasn't because of the mushrooms you were giving, you'd blame me. And I don't want to be blamed. I want you guys to like me.
Better safe than sorry.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Dr. Silver, if we can go back to your previous, maybe a couple questions previous about dosing, can you define what mgs per kg mean?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I tend to be too.
You're so sciencey.
Well, yeah. Well, I guess. Yeah, I wonder why.
Yeah.
It's like a catch-22. You love me for my sciencey nature, but could I please something?
People that don't understand this stuff. Yeah.
Well, when we dose things, we dose the weight of the product based on, or the weight of something in the product, maybe an active ingredient like the beta glucans, per kilogram of body weight. A kilogram is 2.2 pounds. So it's a way of dosing specifically to the weight. And with humans, really, it's almost one size fits all. We've got an adult dosage and we've got a child dosage. They don't make a dosage for women. They don't make a dosage for men. It's just what that is. MIGs should be mg versus the Russian jet MIGs, but just so you know. And so should kig, but that's how they're pronounced, I guess. So using mgs per kg is the way that we can adapt to the many different sizes of from your chihuahua, little puppy, to your giant mastiff. How do they can't all get the same dosage, and the best way to do it is based on their body weight, the simplest way. Yeah.
And that's the beauty of the products. Thank you, Dr. Silver. One of the wonderful things is that when you made the products, when you formulated, you made it so that we don't have to figure out the mgs per kgs. It says right on the side of the bottle. It says, okay, if it's up to 20 pounds, you give this amount, et cetera. So you don't have to kind of determine that when you're using the pet products. It's right there on the side of the bottle.
So this is a nice question. I saw that before. It's from somebody that I know, and this is a tough thing. And I have seen some situations in which we're able to actually reduce the dosage of prednisone with the usage of additional mushrooms or other supplements. My suggestion in this case would be to look at reishi, and to reishi because it has liver protective function to it. And, the adrenal glands are, certainly going to be affected by the pred, but even more so will be the liver. So I would think the reishi plus the cordyceps because of the impact that the cordyceps can have on the adrenal glands. But I don't have, a specific evidence-based study in a human, let's say, on autoimmune disorder to see how protective it could be for the pred. But I think the other piece is that the beta glucans in these mushrooms may actually help to rebalance that autoimmune disorder. And there are some other things that we could also add in there if you wanted to reach out to me sometime.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Silver. And speaking of reishi, there's a question from, I hope I'm pronouncing it, Locutus Rodriguez is wondering which type of ganoderma we're using. Ganoderma is a reishi. He's wondering if it's lucidum.
Yes, it is the lucidum. We call it the, we just, to make it simple, because there are many different species, and they all are really quite similar with some differences. There's even species of ganoderma mushroom that may be growing outside in the woods, outside your house here in North America, if that's where you're located. But it is a lucidum. We call it lingere, which is the pinyin name for the ganoderma lucidum. So it kind of helps to cover the species, but we cultivate the ganoderma. So we clone it from one, from one cultivation to the next. So it's very pure and it's very specific in its species.
Thank you, Dr. Silver. Next question. Lynn, this is feedback on her dog Bella's cancer remission. She says, thanks for the great feedback on cancer remission. Bella's 25 pounds. I've been giving her a quarter teaspoon of 5 defenders. That's what you thought she meant by immune, and turkey tail per day. And yes, the vet couldn't believe it was gone, and her liver was regenerated and healthy. Wow.
And that would be a quarter teaspoon of each. So, I would stay with that same dosage. It's fairly small, well tolerated. It can be given forever. I would do that. There might be some other things one could add that are non-mushroom. I'm not sure what your whole program is. I'm sure it's probably more than just the mushrooms.
Yeah. And, I have to say, while we've been waiting for these pet products to come out, I came on with Real Mushrooms on January 1st, and I have access to seeing the reviews as they come in on the products. And it's just been overwhelming how many people are reporting about the benefits that they're having with their pets who are on the Real Mushrooms products. Kind of confirmed definitely that we're doing the right thing. But what Lynn just shared about her dog it's not the only time we've heard this. I mean, it's always so gratifying and makes what we're doing, makes us know definitely that we're on the right track.
With a quick mental calculation here, that's probably very close to the 4 mg per kg dosage that we had seen in in those 2 studies that someone actually reported dosage. That's what I keep looking for. I go through the literature and I try to find the studies where they actually have a dosage and a concentration, so I can come up with how to get these things dosed.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Silver. We have time for a couple more questions. Okay, my 10-year-old. Goes by fast. My 10-year-old pup is on medication, supplements for arthritis. I still seem to notice she's pretty stiff though, just with general movements or shifting her weight, etc. Can mushrooms help with that?
Again, mushrooms don't work for everything, and I don't want to give you advice and have you try something that we don't really have support for its use. I think that the mushrooms can help improve immune system function. Whether they can improve it enough that it can improve the lubrication in the joints, which might be part of the stiffness, or the inflammation in the joints, I don't know. Hopefully the medication supplements include some glucosamine and MSM and fish oil. I think those are the top 3. And certainly the medication is probably some form of NSAID. So that can be helpful, but still having problems with it, depending on where you live. And if you have any access, acupuncture can be really helpful. There's veterinarians who are skilled in physical therapy, which can also really help. In fact, Joni can speak to that. That's what her certification is in. Yeah. So, there are a lot of choices, and mushrooms can be many of them, but maybe not necessarily every one every time,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I would agree with you, Dr. Silver. And I would just add to, the acupuncture chiropractic can be helpful. If you can find there's something called canine rehabilitation. It's some veterinarians specialize in that, and they have something called an underwater treadmill, which is walking in slightly warm water that can help build strength and kind of loosen dogs and cats. We did work with some cats as well. Laser therapy can also be helpful. So, I agree with Dr. Silver. Mushrooms would probably not be the first thing that I chose for your pup, although they can be supportive. But there's a lot of things out there that you can do to help your pup.
I'm really big on the laser therapy. I've got,
Yeah.
when I started my practice, I brought mine home and use it on my old aging body. It's great.
Yeah. And a lot of veterinary hospitals have brought that don't have canine rehabilitation have brought lasers on board. So they've become very popular. So even if your veterinary hospital that you work with, that you bring your dog to, doesn't have canine rehabilitation, you might want to check if they have like a class 3 or a class 4 laser, and do treatments for arthritis.
Class 2 lasers are fine as well. And some clinics will actually rent out lasers, which can be very good, because that way you don't have to bring your animal in. You can do it yourself at home, and it saves you money, saves you time, and gets more treatment in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we could go on and on the Assisi loop, the take home. There's a lot of different options.
Yes, I use the Easy Loop on myself every day.
I would if I had one. Do we have time for one more question?
Okay.
All righty. So from JR, what's the biggest difference between the pet product capsules and the human capsules? Are the pet capsules smaller?
Simply, yes. We made the capsules 300 milligrams versus the 500 milligrams of the human capsules. We put the same stuff in there. We didn't have to use as much flow material, so we were able to get more actives in that smaller capsule. And the idea is to make it, to more adapt it to the generally smaller sizes that we see in our pets and the higher potency of our mushroom extracts. So that's the difference.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Silver.
You're welcome.
So let's see, where are we at? Did you want to mention the NASC, Dr. Silver, before we sign off? The National Animal Supplement Council, or?
I think that's, National Animal Supplement Council is a trade group of manufacturers and retailers that adhere to the suggestions of the FDA as far as regulation of pet supplements. There is no actual law that regulates pet supplements, as there is a law that regulates human supplements. And so as a result, many pet supplement companies don't really adhere to any standards of quality control or label language, things like that. So the Real Mushrooms is in the process of joining this trade group at my suggestion, because I've been working with this trade group since they founded in 2001, and I think it's a great trade group, and the credibility that it lends to a product, because they will go to your manufacturing facilities and examine them for their CGMP standards, make sure everything, test products on the shelf to make sure they meet label standards. So we are looking forward to becoming a part of that group and providing that substantiated credibility for quality.
Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Silver. I agree with you. It's so important. And I just have to say, I really, really respect you for, you're so evidence-based. You've been really kind of drumming that into me, looking for the fine details, and making sure that, our products are backed by, the people understand the quality in our products, et cetera, and doing everything that we can do to assure that we can reassure people about that. Yeah.
you need the evidence to know what to do. As a doctor, without the evidence, how do I know how to treat a patient? So it's really the same thing here.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, this has been great. We should do this.
It's been a ton of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks so much for all your info, and it's great to get all the questions from everyone who submitted them.
Mm-hmm.
We did our best to answer as many as possible. There was definitely a few that were more condition specific that we can't really give specific information about, and there's a lot of factors in there that Dr. Silver mentioned. But please, you can always reach out to us, hello@realmushrooms.com. We've just launched the pet line, so if you go to our website and just click the pet section in the main menu, you can see what we've got launched. We've got more capsules coming. We've got the bulk powders on the way too. Rob's just working on those right now. Probably some more chews on the way as well. Make sure to go look up the Healthy Dog Expo. Rob and Joni will be there this weekend. I'm sure we'll be posting about it on our social media. And just thank you so much for joining. This was a ton of fun, and I learned a lot just listening to this in the background. And as a dog owner myself, and I've owned dogs for most of my life, it's just so reassuring. Well, to just get some of this info now that I was just kind of in the dark about, or whether it's just healthier food for your pets. And I think both of you are such a great resource that I'm so happy to have you both on the team, and I'm just excited for this launch and where the potential might take us.
We will have to see.
Thank you, Scott. Yeah, we hope to see some of you guys at the Healthy Dog Expo. If you're there, come and say hello to us.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Ready. Bye.
So are we off now? Nope. Yep. Nope. Still live.